I can only describe the current scene surrounding Destiny 2 as Bungie trying to put out a dumpster fire of their own making. Since its September 6th, 2017 launch, the game has been marred by one disaster, controversy, and PR nightmare after another as players kept discovering shadily implemented features that aim to prioritize monetization over the game's integrity and player experience. This has been going on incessantly for almost 5 months now, and it's been an exhausting state of affairs for the Destiny 2 community. It's gotten bad enough that even prominent Destiny YouTubers and streamers who have invested hundreds of hours into this game they wanted to love decided to move away from Destiny content and pursue greener pastures. For this video, I'd like to rewind the clock and talk about the game's first controversial issue, shaders. You may recall that players quickly discovered that, unlike in Destiny 1, where shaders could be permanently unlocked and toggled to the player's desire, Destiny 2 changed the feature to be single-use consumables, marring a system that once allowed players to freely fiddle around with different color combinations for their gear at their leisure. Players suddenly found themselves being conservative about using their shaders, the rare ones in particular, as they were always forced to wonder, what if I get better gear and regret using shaders on the set I have right now? Destiny 2's consumable shaders also birthed another major issue: vault storage space. As if it wasn't bad enough that Destiny 2's vault is for some reason smaller in size compared to Destiny 1's vault, because shaders are now consumables and in turn items players have to collect and store, they too count towards the limited number of vault slots. This is on top of weapons, armor, ships, sparrows, ghost shells, emotes, transmat effects, and ornaments, all of which also have a wide array of different variations that count as individual items. Matters only worsened with Bungie's enthusiasm towards adding cosmetic items in droves through the Eververse microtransactions marketplace while keeping the vault size the same. Soon, players found themselves having nowhere to store their loot, which is a fatal flaw for a game that revolves around looting. Now, shaders in particular quickly became an unbearable nuisance, as Bungie made it so that they can't be deleted in bulk for some reason. So if you want to make vault space for other items and want to get rid of a common shader that you may have collected dozens of, instead of being able to delete the whole stack, the game forces you to delete them one by one. To make a long story short, one of Destiny 2's most important features, inventory management, has been broken and a complete pain in the ass since day one, and as a result, an improved inventory management system quickly became among the most requested fixes from what remains of the Destiny 2 player base. In regressing and messing with Destiny 1's perfectly adequate shader system, Bungie managed to fuck over both the players and themselves, and they did this deliberately knowing that consumable shaders would be much more monetizable. There is no doubt that this was a decision that prioritized making money over making the game fun. With that synopsis out of the way, let's now fast forward to January 25th, 2018, the day in which Bungie released their latest development update. Alongside providing details on how they intend to handle the upcoming Iron Banner after previous events ended in backlash, disaster, and misery, they also address the community's complaints regarding shaders in a section of the update titled Shaders Sit Down. It begins by stating, quote, "Since the launch of Destiny 2, we have gathered a lot of feedback on the new shader system. As time went on and the shaders began to pile up, players lamented the cumbersome process of trying to delete each shader one by one. You've been asking us why we can't just allow you to dismantle entire stacks of shaders. I mean, there are other consumables that can be dismantled en masse. It's a totally reasonable question, and we wanted to let you know the facts. We're not making excuses or claiming this problem is too hard to solve. We just want to be transparent about what the problem is and how we're going to go about solving it. Here is Senior Design Lead Tyson Green to shed some light on shaders." Tyson Green then proceeds to explain the technical reason behind why it's not so simple to implement the ability to delete shaders in bulk, and it apparently has to do with how when shaders are dismantled, the game also rewards players with Glimmer, and there's a challenge in making it so that when you dismantle shaders in bulk, Glimmer is also handed out in bulk without compromising some safeguards against scenarios where items might be produced that can't fit into your inventory, thereby being lost altogether, or something along those lines. Tyson then added that while it would be relatively easy to find another button on the controller and let players delete a full stack of shaders, he doesn't think that's in the spirit of what players are asking for, which I find to be a rather confusing statement because that's exactly what players want to be able to do. I feel like that would be a nice short-term solution before they come up with something a bit more fleshed out down the line. As for what Bungie's long-term plans are to solve this issue, here's what Tyson proposed. It should be easier to get rid of a stack of shaders. We're looking at mass exchange solutions. We know you miss Destiny 1 armor shader mechanics. Looking at ways to reintegrate that capability without losing the ability to shade weapons, ghosts, ships, sparrows, or customize specific pieces of armor. We also understand you want shaders to be more freely usable and not limited by availability. We're looking at reintroducing shader collections or a way to get copies of a shader in your possession. In other words, it looks like Bungie might actually be working on turning shaders back from consumables to unlockables like they were in Destiny 1. Assuming everything goes well on that front, this would definitely be a huge step in the right direction. It would bring back the customization flexibility and freedom that Destiny 1 offered. It would go a long way in freeing up limited inventory space. It would go a long way in making Destiny 2's microtransactions less insidious, and it would make the game less of a pain in the ass for Bungie on a technical front. It's a win-win for everyone. Well, I guess one downside for Bungie would be that they'd lose a substantial source of revenue, but it's either that or completely killing what remains of the Destiny community's goodwill. It's also worth noting that this latest update might be the most transparent and competent that Bungie has ever been since Destiny 2's launch. Their update on Iron Banner is actually quite comprehensive, detailing the exact weapons that can be expected from Iron Banner engrams, the exact gear and cosmetics you can earn from the game directly by doing certain activities, and most importantly, detailing how there will be no limits to how many engrams or tokens players can acquire. Bungie's insistence on secretly throttling rewards and denying players the ability to go crazy with the grinding and looting has been the greatest source of community ire and contention, so for them to finally say go nuts feels almost miraculous. Now, let me make one thing clear. While I'm saying that this is all a step in the right direction, I'm not saying good job Bungie or that Bungie has been redeemed. Not by a long shot. Yes, these are all good changes, but guess what? These are all things that were already in Destiny 1. All Bungie is doing is reverting back to the old system that they messed up and broke. What should have been a sequel that released at least as feature complete as its predecessor and expanded from there, instead turned out to be a disgraced follow-up that's only now starting to play catch-up, an endeavor that Bungie confirmed will take the better part of 2018 to achieve, which is not a good place for a game to be in. Finally, working towards completing a regressed successor is not something to compliment. The fact of the matter is that Bungie and Activision should have known better than to release Destiny 2 half-baked. They should have known better than to secretly throttle rewards in such an underhanded and shady way on numerous occasions to strong-arm players into making microtransactions purchases via the Eververse. They should have known better than to downgrade shaders from permanent unlockables to single-use consumables in order to prioritize monetization. Despite Bungie's recent change in attitude, the fact still remains that it's absolutely unacceptable that Destiny 2 launched the way it did, or that it's in the state that it's currently in 5 months after launch. The game should be working towards the next milestone by now, not struggling to return to the starting line after running this marathon the wrong way for almost 5 months. It shouldn't have taken this much time, backlash, disillusionment, and abuse for Bungie to finally start turning things around. The straw broke the camel's back a long time ago, and at this point, even the most prominent Destiny content creators and hardcore players have had enough, and can you blame them? Interest in the franchise is currently at an all-time low, and I can't help but feel as though at this point, the amount of damage Bungie caused is far too substantial, irreversible even. I fear it may be too little too late for a brand that has now become synonymous with incompetence, deception, and empty promises. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take on all of this is in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video informative, and if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but it will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.